Dr. Tilsara had practiced emergency medicine across 40, two-star systems for over 60 standard years. She'd treated Krathian warriors with half their organs missing, Xanthari who'd regrown entire limbs mid-surgery, and Vexorian whose crystalline biology could survive vacuum exposure. But she'd never treated a human before. "Trauma team to Bay 7! The alert blared through the station's medical center. Critical patient incoming, human, multiple catastrophic injuries. Kilzara's 3 primary appendages moved swiftly, prepping the surgical suit. Her medical database pulled up human physiology files, and what she read made her bioluminescent spots dim with concern. Human's carbon-based bilateral symmetry, singular heart, limited regeneration, vulnerable to temperature extremes, prone to infection, shock easily fatal. They sound like they're made of tissue paper, she muttered to her assistant, Nurse Vel. The trauma pod crashed through the bay doors. Inside was what remained of a human male, Staff Sergeant Jake Morrison, according to his armor's IFF beacon. And remained was the operative word, because there wasn't much left that resembled a functional organism. His left leg was gone below the knee, the wound still smoking from cauterization. His right arm bent at an angle that defied biology. 3 ribs were clearly broken, possibly puncturing his lung. Burns covered 40% of his visible skin, and a piece of shrapnel easily 6 inches long protruded from his abdomen. He should have been dead before the pod even launched. Instead, he opened his eyes when the pod unsealed, looked directly at Dr. Tilzara, and said, "Doc, little help here." Then he passed out. "Impossible," Kilzara whispered. "The blood loss alone, Vel! Get me plasma, type O negative, and prep for immediate surgical intervention!" The medical team swarmed. Scanners revealed the true horror of the shrapnel had pierced his liver. His right lung was collapsed. His blood pressure was dangerously low. Internal bleeding from multiple sources. Every single injury would have been fatal if left untreated for more than minutes. "How is he still alive?" Vel asked, her voice trembling. "I don't know. Human biology says he should have died from shock 10 minutes ago. Start the transfusion and someone tell me what happened?" A Marine appeared in the doorway, Corporal Chen, also human, also injured but walking. "Mom, we were on a rescue op. Crashed ship, unstable reactor. Jake." "Sergeant Morrison," he went back in to pull out survivors. "Building came down on him. Then the reactor went critical. He was in a reactor explosion." "Yes, ma'am." Plasma wave hit him directly. That's when he lost the leg. But he still had a civilian in his arms, so he crawled out. Took him 90 seconds to reach the safe zone. On one leg, with his guts hanging out, Kilzara looked at the broken body on her table. "That's medically impossible." "Yeah, well," Chen said with a pained smile, "Jake's got this thing about quitting. He's not a fan." The surgery took 14 hours. 14 hours of Kilzara fighting to keep this fragile human alive as she repaired damage that would have killed most species instantly. She removed the shrapnel, patched the liver, reinflated the lung, set the broken ribs, and treated the burns. His heart stopped twice during the procedure. Both times Kilzara shocked it back to life, and both times it started beating again like nothing had happened. "Stubborn muscle," she found herself saying as she worked. Just like its owner. When it was over, when Jake Morrison was stabilized and moved to intensive care, Kilzara collapsed in her office, exhausted. Vel brought her a stimulant beverage. "Will he survive?" the young nurse asked. "His chances are uncertain. The trauma was extensive. If he makes it through the next 48 hours without infection or organ failure, he might," her datapad chimed. A message from the ICU. "Patient Morrison is conscious and requesting food." "What?" Kilzara rushed to the ICU. Vel close behind. Jake Morrison, who by all medical science should have been comatose for days, was sitting up in bed. Well, sitting up was generous. He was propped at a 45-degree angle, wrapped in bandages, connected to a dozen monitors, and his prosthetic leg socket was still being fitted. But he was awake, alert, and apparently hungry. "Doc," he said when he saw her, his voice hoarse but clear. "Thanks for putting me back together. You got any food around here? I'm starving." Kilzara's spots flickered rapidly, her species equivalent of stammering. "Sergeant Morrison, you underwent massive trauma and extensive surgery. You should not be conscious. You should barely be alive." "Yeah, I feel pretty rough," Jake admitted. "But I've been hurt worse. Worse than this. Well, there was this time on Kepler 62F when a Hragnak stabbed me through the chest, or when I fell 300 feet into a canyon on Osiris 7. Oh, and the time I got spaced for about 30 seconds before my squad pulled me back in." He counted on his fingers, well, the fingers on his non-broken arm. "So, you know, this is bad, but it's not, like top 5 bad." Kilzara pulled up a chair, her 3 appendages folding in what her species did when confronting something incomprehensible. "Sergeant, I need you to understand the severity of your injuries. You lost a limb, suffered massive internal damage, were exposed to plasma radiation, and you fixed me up. Right? Yes, but then I'm already healing. Human bodies are pretty good at that. He looked down at his bandaged torso. Okay, this is gonna suck for a while. The leg especially, that's a new experience. But I'll adapt. Humans always do. Over the next 3 days, Kilsara watched Jake Morrison do things that violated every principle of recovery medicine she'd ever learned. Day 1, he was supposed to be immobile. Instead, he insisted on sitting up for meals, doing breathing exercises to strengthen his repaired lung, and asking the nurses to help him with basic physical therapy. Gotta keep the blood moving, Doc, he explained when Kilsara protested. Lying still too long, you get clots, muscles atrophy. Better to hurt now than hurt worse later. Day 2, he was supposed to be on bed rest. Instead, he was standing with assistants, practicing balance on his remaining leg while the prosthetic team took measurements. Sergeant Morrison, you are going to tear your sutures! Now I can feel it! I know my limits! He wobbled but stayed upright. Besides, the sooner I'm mobile, the sooner I'm useful again. Day 3, he was walking. Actually walking, with a temporary prosthetic and a support frame down the corridor. Kilsara intercepted him. This is madness! Your body needs time to heal. Jake stopped, leaning heavily on the frame. He looked tired, truly exhausted, but his eyes were clear and determined. Doc, can I tell you something about humans? Please. We're not the strongest species, not the fastest. We don't regenerate like the Zentheri, don't have redundant organs like the Krathians. On paper, we're fragile as hell. He adjusted his grip on the frame. But you know what we've got. We've got stubbornness. We've got pain tolerance built up over millions of years of evolution on a planet that tried really, really hard to kill us. And we've got this human thing where we just refuse to accept limitations. You are not invincible, Sergeant. I know. Believe me, I know. He gestured to his missing leg. But if I lie in that bed and just accept that I'm broken, then I am broken. But if I get up, push through the pain, force my body to remember how to work, then I'm just injured. And injuries heal. Kilsara was quiet for a moment. The pain you must be experiencing is considerable, Jake admitted. Everything hurts, Doc, everything. But pain's just a signal. It's information. My body telling me where the damage is. I acknowledge it, respect it, but I don't let it control me. That's when alarms blared through the station. All personnel emergency alert! Hostile forces detected. Suspected pirate raid. Medical staff, prepare for casualties! Jake's expression shifted instantly. Doc, I need my armor. Absolutely not. I'm still a Marine, and this station's about to be under attack. You can barely walk. Then get me a wheelchair with a gun mount. His voice was completely serious. Before Kilsara could respond, Corporal Chen appeared running down the corridor in full combat gear. Sarge! You're up! Then, seeing Jake's condition, you're also really not ready for combat. How many Marines on the station, Chen? 12, including you and me. Minus you because you're? He gestured vaguely at Jake's condition. 11, then? Against how many pirates? An announcement crackled over the comm. Hostile boarding parties detected. Estimate 40 to 50 combatants. Jake looked at Chen. 11 against 50. We're gonna need every gun? Sergeant Morrison, Kilsara said firmly, I am your doctor, and I am ordering you to remain in medical care. Jake met her multi-eyed gaze. Doc, with all due respect, you're not my commanding officer. And those pirates are going to hit medical looking for drugs and hostages. When they do, would you rather have me here, armed and ready, or lying helpless in a bed? Kilsara's spots went dark, anger and fear and realization all at once. You insufferable fine! Vel, get the sergeant whatever he needs. And if you die from this stupidity, I'm gonna revive you just to kill you again myself! 20 minutes later, Jake Morrison sat in a reinforced wheelchair. His temporary prosthetic wasn't rated for combat, positioned at the entrance to the medical bay. His broken arm was in a sling, but his good arm held a plasma rifle. His torso was wrapped in protective bandaging under light armor. He looked half dead. He probably felt worse. But when the first pirate breached the medical bay door, Jake's aim was steady. The firefight lasted 6 minutes. The pirates, expecting an easy target in a medical facility, encountered instead a Marine who'd survived worse than they could imagine. Jake held the entrance alone for 3 minutes until Chen arrived with reinforcements, and in that time he dropped 7 pirates without taking another injury. When it was over, when station security had repelled the raid, Kilsara found Jake still in his wheelchair, breathing hard, clearly in agony. But alive, status, Doc, he asked. 4 minor casualties among medical staff. No fatalities, thanks to. She gestured helplessly at him. Thanks to a stubborn human who doesn't know when to quit, Jake smiled weakly. We never do. Doc, that's kind of our thing. He passed out then, finally his body demanding the rest he'd been denying it. Kilsara caught him before he could fall from the chair. Get him to surgery, she ordered. He's torn half my work, and his vitals are crashing. Is he going to make it? Vel asked. Tilsara looked at the unconscious Marine, this human who'd survived impossible injuries, recovered faster than medically feasible, and fought off pirates while still in critical recovery. Yes, she said with certainty. Because apparently, humans don't die easily. They die reluctantly, stubbornly, and only after everything else has been tried. Sergeant Morrison will survive because the alternative would require him to give up. She began moving him toward surgery. And I'm beginning to understand that humans don't do that. Sex mu e case Lee R. Jake Morrison actually stood on 2 legs, 1 biological and 1 prosthetic in Dr. Tuil Sara's office. Final medical clearance, she said, signing the data pad. You're officially released to active duty. Thanks, Doc, for everything. You nearly died, multiple times. Yeah, but I didn't. He tested his prosthetic leg, flexing the knee joint. Thanks to you. Kilsara's spots brightened a smile in her species. I merely did my job. You did the impossible part, surviving. Nah, I just did what humans do. We break, we heal, we adapt. He headed for the door, then paused. You know what the funny thing is? Before this, I was scared of losing a limb. Thought it would end my career, maybe end me. But now, he tapped the prosthetic. Now I know I can survive it, can adapt to it. Makes me less scared of what comes next. You were injured, nearly killed, and your takeaway is that you're less afraid. That's the human condition, Doc. Every time we survive something terrible, we prove to ourselves that we can survive. So the next terrible thing, little less scary. We build up this catalog of things that tried to kill me and failed, and it makes us harder to kill going forward. After he left, Kilzara updated her medical database entry on humans. Fragile biology but exceptional recovery. Pain tolerance beyond standard models. Psychological resilience unexplained. Recommendation: never assume a human patient is too injured to be dangerous. They will surprise you. Addendum: impossible is not a word that applies to human survival. Adjust prognosis accordingly. Secondary addendum: if a human says they're fine, they are lying. But they will usually survive anyway out of pure spite.